There are 5 specific steps and more likely like categories and topics that we need to cover and we need to know about if we're going to start or ramp up our freelance writing business. And these kind of cross over into a bunch of different areas. So I think it's really important to remember that this isn't just about starting and knowing zero, and it's not just about ramping up. These are categories that you need to look into and do regular reviews. I don't care if you make a bunch of money and 6 figures, right? Like I make six figures in my business and I make sure to go through these categories all the time, okay? They're critical pieces of analysis to make sure we're building our business in a way that we actually like and that we're actually getting to the places that we want in our business, whether you want more money or free time or you want different types of clients or you want to switch to like strategy or messaging and positioning or brand messaging, that kind of stuff. Hey, Vicky. Vicky says, I'm getting used enough to day job to have remembered to watch the stream. Welcome, Vicky. We're glad you're back. I would put the wave up, but can I do that? Can I do that? Wave? Oh, no, I can't put in, I'm in Ecamm Live, so I can't put in my emojis, but I'm sending all the waves to Vicky. All right, so let's get started with number 1. Hey, Marie, welcome. Marie's one of my Freelance Writer Wealth Lab students, soon to be my other runway student. I think you got tagged in the community. Hi, Tiny Bean. We have a tiny mermaid that took her blanket all the way over here. Now she has like a 6-foot tail. Can you go back to your hobble hole? Thank you. Good girl. All right, hold on. All right, lay down, Squeaky Bean. Why don't you lay down? I feel this might be a snack fiesta today. Hey, Holly. So here's what we're going to do. Oh, first thing I wanted to talk about is runway. So I have a new class that I'm running and, the enrollment goes until next Friday. So it goes until next Friday, 3/24. If you want to sign up for runway, you can go to mandyellis.com/runway. I should pull that up. So hold on. Let me pull that up. So this should be, there we go. So now you guys should be able to see it. So if you go to mandyellis.com/runway, I'm doing a live 5-day boot camp where I'm going to teach you every day at noon Pacific, 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern. I am going to teach material that is not going to ever be covered on this live stream. This is a question I've gotten a couple times. So there's going to be similar topics. Like we're going to cover things like niches like we will today on today's live stream, but I'm going to go a lot deeper and I'm going to teach material that I will never, ever put on this live stream. It will never be here. It's too deep. It's too intense. It's too action packed to be on the live stream. So if you go to mandyellis.com/runway, it's a $49 class. It's 5 days of live classes. If you can't make it live, you'll be able to get all of the replays. You'll be able to watch all the live replays. But if you do show up live, I'm giving away 5 free 1-hour coaching sessions with me. So one-on-one sessions. So if you do show up live, every day we're going to do a drawing for those who showed up live to see who wins the free coaching sessions. And I'm doing something that I rarely do as well. So let's say you don't want to leave it up to chance whether or not you win a free coaching session. I'm also offering 50% off one-on-one coaching sessions for runway students. So you can grab that for $97 at checkout, which I never do. I never do that. I only do that for like very specific course things. So if you were looking for a one-on-one session and you wanted to join the class, it's $150 basically. So a normal one-on-one session with me right now is $200. If you were to do runway for $49 plus $97 for the one-on-one session, it's $150. So it's $50 less than a traditional one-on-one session. So if you go to mandyellis.com/runway, you can learn more about the class. The class is for people all over the world too. I have a whole bunch of students from all different countries. And if you are someone who does not live in the US, this class is still for you. So go and check out the FAQs as well at the bottom of the runway page. It'll tell you a little bit more. All right, so that's the spiel about runway for now. I see a bunch of comments. Let's get back to, yeah, Marie's coming to runway. Holly's coming to runway. Marie and Holly are both my Wealth Lab students too. So all of my Wealth Lab students already get extra classes for free. And Tina's coming. I remember Tina and I are now LinkedIn friends. So you can always friend me on LinkedIn. And Tina, friend of me, she's coming to the runway class. Let's see. Yeah, it's going to be fun. Vicky says, I won't be able to keep up with runway because of my day job. How long will the replays be up? This is a good question that I'm still trying to figure out. So I think at the very most, it'll be about a month. So I think what I'm going to do is the replays will be up until about the end of April. So anybody who can't make those 5 days, the plan I have now is to have this, we have the class, but we also have the community. So the community piece will be where all the recordings are. So if you need more time, I think I'm just going to leave them up until the end of April. So maybe not like the last day of April, but pretty close to the end of April. You'll have about 30 days to watch them. And then that way people who want to sign up for the class and can't make it live and, can't be there all the time, still have a chance to do it. So right now it's about 30 days. I may extend that. I'm not sure yet, but right now it'll be about 30 days. Let's see. Yeah, I love the little, leveling up for sure. This is something that I think is really important too, is that, can the same person win 2 coaching sessions? They cannot. You can only win one of the 5 coaching sessions. So if you show up live every single day, you get extra bonus points. But if you win the live or the free coaching session on the first day, you can't win any of the others. We want to give everybody else a chance to win a coaching session. So you can only win one of the 5 coaching sessions. All right, let's get to the live stream. Oh, and if I haven't said this, the material in Runway, I guess I should leave this up. I took it down, but the material in Runway, we're going to cover the same overarching topics. So like we will go through niches and basically similar stuff to today. Niches, direction, inbound marketing, which is your LinkedIn and your website and your writer portfolio. Your outbound marketing, which is your LOIs and your pitches for magazines or trade magazines. And then like your client systems and processes. We're going to go over all that stuff in terms of topic, but the material I'm teaching and the way like the stuff that I'm sharing is never going to be on this live stream. We might cross over a little bit, but the crossover is just topic based. It's not material based. So the material will never be available on this live stream. Like I won't do it. It'll be too deep. It's stuff that I think is really specific to that class. And it's stuff where I feel like if someone's going to pay for the class, they deserve this high quality gold standard material, right? Like we're doing a lot of intensive stuff. So if you join this live stream, there's a lot of wonderful information here that I share for free, but there is a difference in the material I share for free and the stuff I do for paid stuff. And I feel like my students have mentioned that before, where like there's a big difference between the level of material we talk about here on the live stream and the level of material that we go over in the Wealth Lab or that we're going to go over in Runway. Whisper, your cat Whisper, Marie, cannot win a coaching session. She can have a Zoom session like what we have on Working Wednesdays, like Whisper on Working Wednesdays, and like the dogs being here, like these guys being here during Working Wednesdays. But Whisper cannot have a coaching session. She can have a little like snack date with these two. Barry, can you catch it? Oh no, we were so close. Barry caught it the other day. I'm not throwing it at him just because like. Can you find it? You got it? Want to do a high five? Good job. Other one. Other one. Good girl. All right, we found it. So Whisper cannot win a coaching session, but we can have a Whisper and pup date on the Working Wednesdays. Yeah, this too. Holly says, when I saw this week's topic, I thought it's a great primer before Runway starts. Exactly. What I'm going to give you here on the live stream today is like a very small portion. Like it's kind of an overview of what Runway would kind of be like. So if you are interested in Runway, this is sort of kind of in the same ballpark. So it's kind of like exactly what Holly said. It's a primer. It's just like the regular white paint you put on the wall to like get it to the right shade. But if you want to pick your shade and pick a business you adore and like actually build things that take you to the next level, that's what Runway's for. Okay. All right, let's get to the topic. Woo, go back to your hobbit hole. Thank you. Good girl. All right, can you lay down? Can you show everybody how you lay down? Can you lay down? Not high fives. Lay down. Lay down. 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 Good job. Here you go, buddy. Oh, I thought I switched the camera, but I didn't. Yeah. All right, can you go down? Down? Good job. All right, we're getting to material now. Let's go to the primer material. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, let me pull up my notes so that we make sure we do this correctly. Remember, this is our, these are a bunch of things that I do in my six-figure business and that I tell my students to do as analyzing different pieces of your business, okay? This is really important. So whether you're starting or you're ramping up your business, these are important topics. So number one, our topic is niches and your business roadmap. So when we're kind of thinking about starting our business, really launching our business or leveling up our business, your niches probably will change, okay? You start out with a few niches. So let me give you some examples. Marie says that her business goes up and down like a roller coaster, but the Wealth Lab keeps her sane and Runway is going to help her refocus. Good. I'm glad. Marie's a superstar. So's Holly. So's Vicky, because Vicky comes here all the time and learns stuff. So let's talk about this. When we're working on our niches, I started with food and travel only. So when I started in my business, it was food and travel only. Woo! Go back to your rabbit hole. And then I expanded to a bunch of different niches. So now I write in food, travel, restaurants, hospitality tech, fintech, SaaS, insurance tech. What's the other ones? I talk about pets, real estate, prop tech. I've written about cybersecurity. I've written about all these random things that I never thought I was going to write about. And that's because I kept reanalyzing my business. So if I'm going to launch my business, I get to pick some niches. Let's kind of pick those out. And in Runway, that's something we'll do. We'll go over cake and icing niches. I'll give you a bunch of lists and things to look at that make sense for you. I also have a video in this channel about cake and icing niches. It just that isn't going to go as deep as Runway. So I'll link to that below. But when I started, I had 2 niches and that's what I did, right? And then I changed over time by getting assignments, by reaching out to different clients, by making sure that I'm looking at what I'm interested in and what I like. And there's a lot of times where I meet writers, they're like, I only want to write about what I love. And I'm like, that's only what you love right now. That's not what you're going to love in 10 years forever only, right? Like I love my pets, right? We're going to love them. They're my little fur babies. Well, I don't say fur babies. I say furples. But so I have my furples and I love them forever. But it doesn't mean that I can't add pet health insurance on instead of just writing about pets. There's this very small view sometimes about niches or like where you're going to take your business in the future, rather than understanding that you're going to change and evolve with your business. So the niches that you pick are where you are right now and saying like, I hate tech. I don't want to do it. Nope. I'm telling you, like there are lots of people who write about tech, me included, that are working for consumer-based products. So if I can understand the tech and then explain that to a consumer, that's writing about tech, right? It's not the back end engineering, like app development, super technical, hard stuff. It's like, here you go, bud. It's like, how is this app or how is this platform, software, tool, system going to change my life as a consumer? If you can explain that, that's a niche for you, right? And these things you can get over time. So another good example here of my business changing was I had an editor who I loved working with. And she just randomly one day was like, hey, do you want to write about real estate? And I was like, yeah, sure. And I fell in love with it. I was just like, let's just give it a chance. Let's just try it out. And I fell in love with it. Changed the course of my business. Now I work with a lot of real estate companies, real estate tech companies, mortgage tech, prop tech, types of insurance that cross over into real estate. And it really like opened up a lot of doors for me. So your niche is just what you have right now. Like when you start out, I picked food and travel. That was something that I knew a ton about. I had obviously eaten a lot of food, but I read a lot about food. I knew a lot about food history. I cared a lot about travel. I knew a lot about different destinations. I had traveled. There's a lot of things that you pick up though as you level up your business. You want to keep yourself more open-minded. You want to give yourself a bigger opportunity to understand where that's going. That also leads into cake and icing, right? So our cake niches are going to be the ones that actually bring in the big bucks, right? Like anything where you have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of potential clients. And then your icing ones are like things for me, for example, is like pet health insurance. There's not enough companies there for that to be a cake niche yet. So it's icing because there's not enough companies where I could send 50 to 75 LOIs every single month and reach out to only pet health insurance companies. The market's not big enough yet, but it will be. Here you go, buddy. So your icing could also be fun stuff like pets or gardening, or it could be writing fiction or poetry. Like I know Holly has gotten a couple pieces published recently about parenting, and she got a poem published. And so your icing doesn't necessarily have to bring in huge piles of money, but it does have to feed the creative parts of you. This is something that I think is a really nice balance. Like you don't have to just write in niches that make money. And every time I've had a writer that's like, oh, I just tell me which niches make all the money and I'll just write in those. No, you won't. You'll hate your business. You will quit. And then you will quit because you think freelance writing's not for you. No, you're quitting because it's done in a way. Come on, phone. I need my notes. It's done in a way where you've set yourself up to fail. Like you only focused on the money and you didn't focus on the things you actually like to write about. So in our cake and icing niches, we are balancing what you're interested in, what you have experience and knowledge in, the things that are your cake niches that have hundreds, if not millions, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of potential clients, and they have big budgets. They're big revenue type companies, right? And our icing ones are like feeding our creativity, feeding our writer juice, right? Our brighter brain. And they're things that aren't ready yet. So it's kind of a combination. Like for me, that's pet health insurance. It's not ready yet to be a cake niche, but I like to write about it and I'm interested in it. So here you go, buddy. So these kind of affect our business roadmap and they change over time. And I have had students, this is a thing. I've had students who are like, I am not tech savvy. I don't want to write about tech. And then I see them write about tech because the niche is a tech niche, but the people, the audience that the content is going to are consumers who need help with tech. So if you can just understand the tech, you don't even have to use it. This is the thing. You can get this, like let's say, so here's a good example. This is, Holly just said that her most recent pitch was accepted for a Fiction Writers Association. That's super cool. Holly, you're killing it. This is like 5, right? This is your 5th published piece. You're doing great, man. Like now you're really getting them done. And Tina says, congrats, Holly. Thank you for the support, Tina. Good job. I always like when we kind of congratulate each other and work together in our live stream here. Here you go, bud. Oh no, sorry. So as we're kind of going through these things, we want to make sure we're paying attention to how our roadmap changes and we're kind of keeping ourselves open-minded, right? We're giving ourselves a bunch of different options. And like I said, like if you're able to take something and just explain it to someone else, take something and explain it to someone else well, then you can write about it. This is what a writer is, right? This is something that I think is so basic. Writers take lots of things and they make them easy to understand for people. That's almost what we do as writers, is you write an article and you make something easy to understand for other people. They enjoy it. They want to read it. They want to like research it. That's all we're doing. So it's not that we're taking these complicated text systems and making them like, and not understanding them and then writing about them. Don't do that. Like there's lots of complicated stuff I can't write about. Like it's too boring for me. I don't get it. Like it's too heavy engineering. So I just don't. Like there's a lot of cybersecurity stuff where I've reached out to, I've talked to like companies and I'm like, oh, this is too complicated for me. Like I can't do it. But there's plenty of cybersecurity stuff that's just for regular consumers that we can write about. That's the thing, is audience. So if you can think about, when you're thinking about your niches, right? Think about the audience that you want to help with your content. What audience do you want to talk to? What audience do you want to help? What audience do you want to read your content? Back that up to a niche, okay? So like a good example here, which is one I think I gave to Holly, is parenting apps, right? Those apps are being used by busy parents with like 5,000 kids who are trying to balance 2 adult schedules and probably grandma helping them and some other stuff, right? So your apps for families, even if it's an app and it can be complicated on the back end, right? You're integrating 3 schedules and you are adding in all these appointments and you have 50,000 reminders. Like on the back end of the engineering part, it can be really complicated. But the front end is like, hey, do you have 3 adults with 3 different schedules that you need to put into one app? Get this app, right? That's what you're writing, is the get this app part. You're writing the piece of like, hey, how can we help you via this app, right? And that's the thing you need to think about when it comes to niches, is like, it's not just about tech, which tech runs almost every piece of our lives. Like there's an app for everything. There's an app for anything you can imagine, right? So work it backwards. What audience do you want to help, right? And then think about being open-minded about your niches. Think about your experience, right? Your knowledge, your expertise, what you're interested in terms of niches. Remember, we can balance with cake and icing. Cake is like big tech things, or like boring stuff like chemicals, or like biotech is another one. And icing can be fun stuff like gardening, or it could even be icing. Like for me, a lot of times icing can just be writing for publications. Like I'm not going to make huge piles of money, like 30K on one project, but I will be able to do fun things that I like while making a little bit of extra money, right? Here you go, buddy. Oh, there you go. So those are really important things to remember. And I want to just give you guys like the overview. I don't want to go too deep in here because like I can go like a little nuts, like going too far into this, because it's really interesting. Like it's so interesting to me that I meet writers that are just so afraid of these things. And it's like, dude, your whole job as a writer is just to write about like things, make things interesting for people. Like if you can read it, then you can write it. And there are things that I read them and I'm like, I don't know what you just said. So another good example, yes, Marie is a good example. We talked about this. So Marie writes in construction, but she cannot use power tools. I can't use power tools. I mean, I use power tools, but like, you know, it's not my thing. And she says like, she had a joke that her husband said like he would only give her Fisher Price construction tools because like she, you know, did this, the power tool ran away from her. But she writes about construction and she writes for construction companies and she writes for different brands that like she personally, right, it would be too complicated. But for other people, she's really good at translating the experience or the knowledge or the expertise to it, right? So she rocks at telling people about construction or helping them with different processes or managing different things about a construction project, right? So these are things to keep in mind. Yes, this too. Holly says we talked about how it's the implementation piece. How do the parents use it? How does it serve them? Which I do know exactly. It's not about the tech. It isn't. Almost unless you're writing about like super spy, complicated, deep, like my friend who writes about Kubernetes, which I just learned how to say in the last year, which I didn't even know how to say that, Kubernetes. And I have no idea what that is, but she writes about it all the time. I don't have to write about that, but I could write about something Kubernetes adjacent that I can understand. And the audience matters. Like if you can tell them how they're going to use it, implement it, how it's going to change their life, that's a good niche for you. That's a really important thing. Okay, here you go, buddy. I got a road toad over here. I have a little road toad sitting by my feet. Can you go back to your hobble hole, please? Thank you. There, no, you're such a cheater. Go back to your, thank you. All right, let's give everybody some high fives. Because they're, oh, you knocked a treat out of my hand. Hold on. Because Holly and Marie and Tina and Vicky and everyone gets some high fives today. Because they're doing great. All right, buddy, you ready? I'm not going to throw it this time because I think that didn't work out too well. Can you reach? Ooh, reach. There we go. Good job. All right, let's move on to number 2. If this has been helpful so far, give it a thumbs up. If you want to build a freelance writing business you adore, subscribe. All right, let's go to number 2. Like I said, this is my overview. So like if this material is interesting to you, Runway is the class for you. So let me just say that. This material is my like big brush strokes. Runway is going to go into tactical steps of like what niches, how do I do it? How do I find clients? How do I make money? How do I actually send pitches and LOIs? LOIs are your letters of introduction. 2, let's talk about attracting ideal clients. Let's talk about your LinkedIn, website, and portfolio. So I have a video on this as well about questions you need to ask yourself in order to get your LinkedIn, your website, and your portfolio in sharp shape. So I will link that in here too. But again, same thing, broad brushstrokes. So here, when we're talking about attracting ideal clients, it comes from the same kind of stuff as your niche. Can you understand the audience that they're targeting, right? Can you also understand how to explain their pain points? Do they struggle with actually getting the content done? Are you talking to a lot of startups where one person is wearing 12 hats, and if they can give you one hat so they only have to wear 11, is that is that going to be a marketing point or an interest point on your LinkedIn and your website to draw in more clients, right? Here you go, buddy. Good job. Is your LinkedIn or are your ideal clients ones who struggle with connecting with an audience? They're a bunch of engineers who cannot tell a bunch of parents how to use their app. Like, they don't understand the difference between features and benefits, right? There are features to an app and there are benefits, right? Features are like 12 different integrations, and benefits are like you can connect 3 different calendars from 3 different adults, right? When we're also talking about ideal clients, and we'll go over this more in Runway, is like, what are they? Like, what are your ideal clients? Who do they look like? What kinds of revenue do they make? What kinds of niches are they in? What types of content do they create? How do we analyze their stuff so we figure out kind of what's going on, right? When we have that analysis, we then can level up or launch our business, right? When we have these kinds of little building blocks, we now know exactly what to write on our website, because we're like, oh, our client, I've seen 10 different client websites and they've all said the same thing. That means they're struggling with this. I'll put that in my LinkedIn, and they think I understand their struggles, because I do, right? I've read it 10 times. I know they're struggling, right? So when we're kind of putting all these pieces together, we now have this opportunity to basically read back what our clients said they're struggling with, so then we can help create content, strategy, messaging, whatever our project is, to actually make things work for them, right? To actually get the things they want, right? The content marketing piece is the content as a marketing asset, right? So the content, blog posts, white papers, case studies, downloadables, apps, whatever it is. Sometimes people write app content, like they write the content that people upload into the app. It's not super common, but it happens. But if you're doing that, right, all of that content is going to help them get leads, sales, subscribers, likes, comments, shares, all the stuff that they want, right? That's what we're kind of relaying back. Here you go, buddy. Good job. And when we're attracting these ideal clients, we want to understand, like, where are their struggles? Where are their pain points? What are the things that are preventing them from not only getting the content out there, but actually creating quality content, things that make sense to their actual audience, right? And our LinkedIn and our website are going to be honed into the 3 to 5 major pain points or struggles that your ideal clients go through, right? They're going to go over the pieces that when your client reads them, they're like, yes, I struggle with all of those. Please help me, right? And it goes back to that Simon Sinek quote that I share all the time, is like, if you can explain your ideal client's problems to them, they automatically think you have the solution, right? So if I can explain in my LinkedIn and in my website all the problems that they're dealing with and how I specifically help them with my own skills, not just how a writer would, but how my experience, expertise, knowledge, all the things I can bring to the table. If I can do that, they come to my website, they come to my LinkedIn, they're like, that lady gets it. Get her on the phone, right? That converts, that actually changes them over into reaching out to you. And it gets rid of a bunch of tire kickers, right? It gets rid of a bunch of people that are not going to be attracted to that. Like, they don't get it. They're not on the same thing. They're just looking for a writer, or they're like, I want it really quickly. That's another thing. We're going to get rid of a bunch of phrases and stuff that you might use that like attract the wrong clients. This also goes back to your portfolio. The advice that I give my students all the time is, if you don't want more of it, don't post it. Do not put it in your portfolio or LinkedIn if you do not want to write any more blog posts about Asian fishing. I don't know. I just picked a topic. If you don't want to write any more social media posts, if you don't want to write any more case studies or white papers, or if you don't want to write any more of whatever content, don't post it, because whatever you post, you're going to get more of. So post all the things in your portfolio and all the things on LinkedIn where you have that featured section that you actually want to get people to pay you money for, right? If you want more travel articles, or you want more email drip campaigns, or you want more landing pages, that's what you need to post. It's not a portfolio of like everything you've ever done, right? It's just a portfolio curated to like, I want to do more of this, or I want to work more in this niche, right? That's really important. That means that we're going to attract, again, the right types of clients. Instead of getting more people being like, I saw you posted X, and you're like, oh God, please don't make me write that again, right? And it's just because you basically posted on LinkedIn, or you posted on your website in your portfolio, and now they think that's something you offer, like they found it, right? So we're going to go over like a lot of these things in Runway more in depth, but our ideal clients, attracting them is more about understanding them. Like, what are the things that they get like strung out about when it comes to getting content together, whether that's ideas, actually writing it and creating it, coming up with briefs or editing processes, images, SEO, how we're actually going to put all of those pieces together, right? That's where we're helping them, and we just need to relay that to them. That's what our LinkedIn and website are for. Therefore, relaying this information to them, back to them, right? Back. Yeah, relaying it back to them. So like they're struggling with this type of stuff, or they're struggling with these types of things. And like I said, even if you're launching and you haven't had any clients, there are tons of things that are just kind of basic 101 things that almost every client struggles with that we can put in your portfolio or in your LinkedIn and website to get you on the right track with the right clients. There's like a subset of, I don't know, 10 to 20 things that almost every client has a problem with. That's why they're seeking you, right? That's why they're seeking out a freelance writer or someone to partner with on this actual project, right? Vicky says, what if I'm open to more articles in a niche from a better client than I had last time? That's okay. You can still post that in your portfolio. Then you get to be pickier about whoever that is. So if you have an article, like let's say you had an article in, go back to your hobble. Let me think of a topic. Let's say I had an article that's about like health care, and I only got paid $200 for this super intensive article that was like 3,000 words. That means that I'm going to make sure I change my rate going forward. And even posting that article, there's no like database, right? Where, there's no like database where someone's like, oh no, I found out that Vicky only made this amount last time, right? Like that doesn't happen. So if you go to a client and you charge a brand new rate and you have a brand new client, it's not like they're going to know like that you worked at a super low rate before and it took all your time, right? So, here you go, buddy. That means that when you have a client who reaches out to you about that type of article in healthcare, you say, hey, I would love to write that piece for you. The price is this, right? You're not going to quote the same price. You're going to go much higher, right? You're going to go to the rate that actually matches the value of the work. And then that way, if that doesn't fit the client's budget, then they're not your client. That's, we don't have to accept low rates just because we have that clip, right? I always kind of relate it to like, if someone sees a clip and they're like, I like that writing from Vicky. Vicky killed it. I love this. I want a piece just like this. You'd be like, great, it costs this much, right? You wouldn't go to the grocery store and find like the best orange and be like, I want this orange, and then be like, okay, the price is right there. If you want this specific orange, and they're like, oh no, it has to be whatever I paid last year for oranges. Like, no, that's not how it works. So you want to think about it as like, if they want that quality of writing that you're bringing to the table, it costs X. It doesn't matter like the worst client or whoever you had last time. You can just start the slate clean. Here you go, buddy. You guys are getting a lot of snacks today. I feel like I'm putting out too many snacks. All right. Yeah, this was something Marie talked about, was that she was doing a ton of press releases and she hated them, right? So then she saved the testimonial. She got rid of the press releases, so she stopped doing that type of work, right? And then she doesn't have them anywhere available or listed on services. So that way, right, no more clients are reaching out to her about it. And that makes it so like you're actually getting work from the clients that you want, right? Tina said, should you limit the niches you work with in the beginning? I have a few writing samples from paid work, but they're in different niches, and I'd also like to get involved in other niches too. I like to pick 3 to 5. So if you're starting out as a freelance writer or you're kind of in the ramp up stage, I like 3 to 5 niches. We have enough room there to kind of mix cake and icing. And we also have enough room to kind of experiment with what's actually going to be our best bet. Like what types of things make sense for us that we actually like, what types of stuff that we want to grow. It gives us a bigger sandbox to play in. The other thing too is that I've sent samples to people who are not, they're in a totally different niche, and I still get the work because they like the quality. So even if, and this is something we'll go over in Runway too, is like how to get clips in new niches, how to get new types of niche clients with your old clips. I've done this a ton of times. Either it's going to work or it's not. So you send a sample and say, hey, I'm actively moving into X niche, right? I'm actively, I've worked in these 3 niches, and I'm actively moving into these 2 other niches. Right now, I don't have any clips as I transition, but I'm letting you know, like, here are some clips that I have from my past clients. If the quality, if you're interested in the quality or these clips work for you, I'd love to talk about XYZ. There are so many people who will give you a chance. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've talked to writers who are like, no, I need to have 100% the clip they want. No, I've sent totally different clips. Like I've sent food clips to like super technical things, and I've still gotten the work because the food clip was like the quality, and it talked about it had interviews and research. It was the format that they wanted, right? It doesn't always have to be the same topic. And there are lots of people out there that if they read your work and they like your work, they're like, yeah, we love Tina. Get Tina on the phone. Like, this is great stuff. So we don't always have to match exactly, and there will always be a transition period. So I have a similar example where like, I think I used my real estate clips to get insurance stuff because I had like a paragraph in an article that was kind of like talking about insurance. It didn't go into it in detail, but it's the quality of the work, right? And then once you get one of those clips, you get one clip from that new niche. Now you send that to everybody, right? Now you have one clip. We can move on. We can charge more. No one knows your past history except for you. So we leverage the assets that we have. They work or they don't. And then we charge more and we move on, right? Once we get that clip, charge more and move on. Tina says she wants to focus more on tech, and I don't really have any samples there, just work experience in tech. That's fine, Tina. That's perfect. I've written about tons of tech things, and okay, to be fair, I have an engineer dad, so like I kind of have a tech stuff, but if you have full-time work experience or you have work experience to leverage, that's another thing that we will talk about in Runway, is how to write like to a client and say, like, hey, I don't have a clip, but I worked 20 years or 5 years or 1 year at this tech company doing XYZ tasks, focusing on this part of the tech. Like, there are tons of ways that we can leverage our past work experience, our clips, different niches. Just because you're switching into freelance writing and launching a freelance writing business, or just because you're switching niches, or just because you need different clips, doesn't mean we erase all of our experience, right? We don't just, it's not like a blank slate where we're like, I have nothing now. Like, no, we get to leverage the skills and experience and knowledge that we have from before. Yeah, Tina, you're in good shape. Don't worry about like that much, like, especially if you have work experience, we can leverage that. And like I said, like some clients will be super picky and they'll be like, no, you have to have this very particular clip. Okay, right now you're not my client. But 3 months from now or 6 months from now, if I have clips to share with you, I can go back to that client and say, hey, remember how you were super picky? I have those clips now. Can we work together, right? We always have the opportunity to keep leveraging as we gain experience in clips. Let's talk about 3, people. 3. All right. Yes, hello. Would you like to make an order for snacks? You look super cute, but you're not on camera. Can you go back? Can you go back to your hovel? Can you go back to your hovel? Nope. All the way back to your hovel. Good job. Can you give everybody some high fives? Yeah. Yeah. Good job. Oh, hold on. We got to break this treat down. Good job. Here, you ready? You ready for treats? You're so far away. Oh. At, Bo being 16 and a half, he makes like the minimalist effort. So like I really have to stretch to reach him to give him snacks. So like he's like, come on, buddy, just a little. Okay. Whew. So like he just has the he just has like the minimalist version of moving around, which is fine. He's 16 and a half. He's like 1,000 years old. All right. Holly says that she was a stay-at-home homeschool parent for 10 years and did no other work. And I thought I didn't have any skills, but Mandy told me I was being silly goose. You were, because you have tons of skills. That's the thing, is I've known plenty of writers who were stay-at-home parents or were homeschoolers, and they translated that into a great freelance writing career. Like, you always have skills, experience, and knowledge. It's just understanding how to actually leverage that. And Holly writes in, she does parenting, famtech, education, and edtech. Yep. Okay, let's talk about 3. So 3 is our marketing, our LOIs, and our pitches. So basically what we're going to do in Runway, just specifically, is I'm going to give you templates. So you're going to have an LOI template and some pitch templates to work with. And then we're also going to go over like how that works, right? So classic thing I've said on the live stream is 50 to 75 LOIs a month to businesses, or it's pitches too. Like you'd want to be sending like a reasonable number of pitches. Like if you really want to get magazine clips, you're going to have to pitch a lot. So 50 to 75 LOIs a month, but caveat, I struggled with that a lot when I was becoming a freelance writer, when I was really launching and like starting over and fixing my business. Even if I made 49 or even if I made 67 out of 75, I would feel like a failure. So the deal is that we agree to 1 hour of marketing every single day. So if you feel like that's too many LOIs, fine. Do 1 hour of marketing every single day. We've got to do something to move our business forward. I don't care if that marketing is physically sending things, like you're actually emailing out your LOIs and pitches, or you're writing them, or you're making a list of companies or magazines, or you're checking revenues, or finding contact information, or growing your LinkedIn network, or sharing things. We have to do 1 hour Monday through Friday. So 50 to 75 LOIs a month sounds too overwhelming. Totally cool. I know you can spend 1 hour a day doing it. It's not complicated. This is something too that I feel like as long as you break it down into manageable steps, you get it done. Like if you have templates and you understand who you're targeting, why, what revenue they have, or what pitches they're looking for, or you read the publication and you know like who to reach out to, it becomes very formulaic very quickly, and then you get it done really fast. So for example, like I sent like 25 LOIs in 1 hour a little while ago, like a few weeks ago. And it's just because I have a list and I'm already doing things. So like the hour is like me sending them. And I've spent other hours collecting my list, checking revenues, making sure they're the right companies for me, looking at their content and websites, checking out LinkedIn and social media, right? But the hour is actually spent sending those things out. And just like I said, it becomes formulaic. And you start, like, I always joke with my students, like my Wealth Lab students, that it's a smell. Like you start, it's like, it just becomes a smell where you're like, oh, this client is for me. So yes, 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 no, no, no. Like you start honing in on exactly who the client is, and then it becomes a lot faster. So your marketing is not this sleazy, gross, like desperate attempt where you're like coming in with the stink of desperation. You're like, hey, do you need help? I can help you. I'm qualified. Have a great day. That's it. Like our marketing, like these are our LOIs. Our LOIs, I always say they're drive-through LOIs because we're driving by, right? We're driving by saying like, hey, do you need help? I can help you with these things. I'm qualified. If you want to hop on a call, cool, let's do it. Have a great day. We don't have to make it complicated. People are super scanners now, so we need to make sure that that stands out from the noise and that it's easy for them to get through. And with your pitch, it's similar, right? I always kind of like, there's like pitches are like a little bit of a wiggle worm. So like some people say like no more than 2 paragraphs for your pitch. I'm kind of like a 4-paragrapher. Like I kind of like a paragraph that's like the intro. The middle paragraph is like, what are we actually doing and what are some things we're covering? The 3rd paragraph is like who I'm interviewing, questions I'm going to answer. And like the 4th paragraph is like, here are some qualifications or publications I've been in. So for me, I have a little bit longer format. Some people write super long pitches, like multi-paragraphs, like 5 or 10 paragraphs, because they're pitching a big feature, or it's just their style. But for me, the pitches, like they become formulaic too. Is like you get this groove and understanding of like, like the pitch is paragraph 1, fill in these 4 types of information. Paragraph 2, fill in these 3 types of information. Right? It becomes this this thing that you can get done. So like the more you kind of do the pitches, the more you send out. Same thing with ideas. The more you work on like giving fertilizer to your idea muscle, right? Well, that's not a good thing. Giving vitamins to your idea muscle, because fertilizer would be weird. If you were fertilizing your muscles, you'd probably fail a P test, right? So if you are giving vitamins to your idea muscle, the more you work out that idea muscle, the more ideas you have. And the more ideas you have, the more pitches you can send. And they all kind of like go into each other. These are the things where it's like when I talk to writers where they're like, I'm not making any money. And like, how many pitches are you sending? How many LOIs are you sending? Who are you targeting? Are you actually cutting down by revenue? Are you actually paying attention to like what the magazine pays or what's going on? Like, there's a difference between getting clips because you want to be in certain publications and the need to make certain amounts of money. And we need to balance that, right? It also depends on everybody's situation, right? Like some people don't need to make any extra money. They just want to be in certain magazines, right? They just want to get some clips in certain magazines. That's totally fine. You still got to pump up that idea muscle and you still got to get in the format of like sending those pitches and understand kind of your template. And the same thing goes for LOIs is like our LOIs are going to be based on like a bunch of different factors, but we want to refine those things as much as possible to target the right clients so that our number of answered LOIs goes up. And the more people answer, then the more work you likely get, right? So like if you send 10 LOIs and you get a 10 to 20% response rate, that's really good. Response, like they just say, hey, whatever they say, hey, no thanks, or they say, hey, try again later, or they're like, we're going to add you to a list, or they respond to say, let's get on a call, right? The more we can kind of refine our process pre-LOIs and understand our templates and get in the groove and build the muscle, the faster it all becomes, the more clients we have, then we can be picky. And the pickier we get to be, then we get to charge better rates, right? And then we get to turn down work that doesn't fit our business goals. It all is this nice little like beautiful terrarium that we get to live in, right? So that's really important. Hold on a second. Here you go, buddy. Holly says... Boop, 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 boop. Holly says, hold on, I've missed a bunch of comments. I've refined my pitch template and it makes it easier the more formulaic I'm able to get it, so I just plug and send. Exactly. You get so used to this formula, your brain starts saying like, you need a stat here, or you need to have a question here, or you need to say what experts you're going to reach out to, or you need a really snappy headline. Like it comes to you a lot quicker and it doesn't become so... like it doesn't take you 4 hours or 4 days to do it, right? And then Marie says, I've hit 100 LOIs once and I felt like I needed to check into a mental hospital. But the templates helped me so much, they're worth gold. Yeah, the templates the templates make it so that it's a lot easier to just kind of like move forward. We don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time we send an LOI or a pitch. We just kind of like get the format, understand, move on, right? Now we get to actually do the fun part of writing, right? Like once we get a client, we actually get to write. Vicky says, I've realized that the reason why LOIs may be more useful than cold calling is because cold calling methods expect me to spend time building a bigger list. Yeah, and I agree. That's totally true. It also depends on your niche. I have the freelance writer terrarium. I have a student who cold calls because her niche is super old school. Like no one's on LinkedIn. Like her niche is so old school. They're like not really on the online. And so some niches, very random old school niches, like she does paper and chemicals and some other complicated stuff that I don't understand. And she was a stay-at-home mom. She homeschooled her kids and she did a lot of these projects where now she works for like paper and chemical companies because of what she taught her students, her kids. And so now she cold calls. She was doing LOIs and she's like, this isn't working. And I'm like, okay, like, are they on the, like, are they on LinkedIn? How is this working? And she was like, well, they're not there. And I'm like, okay, you're going to have to call. You're just going to have to call. And she's like, everybody's being pretty nice. Like, most people are pretty nice. And when you call, all you're doing is grabbing their email, right? Hi, you're just calling their main number. Hey, can I get the email for the marketing person, this person's name? Because you grab the name from LinkedIn, they give you the email, then you send them an email. So it depends on the niche, but yeah, like most of the time, almost everybody's on LinkedIn and you can find their name and you can either send them an email or you can send them an email. And cold calling can be, you sometimes have to build a very big list to do that. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, let's talk about, so our marketing piece should be more, we should be able to get that done so we can get back to our paid work. Our marketing should be not like, you should have a template. The formulaic part is more like pulling stuff from your brain to put on paper rather than it being like the same stuff. Your LOI will be pretty similar, but you'll customize that per niche. So then it's easier to send out. Your pitches will be per magazine. So you'll have to customize those a little bit. But your pitches should be like to the point still. Like we don't want to ramble and go on. Like we want to just get to the point because editors get hundreds of pitches a day. So you got to stand out and you got to do it, hello, thank you for the link. You got to do it in like a snappy way where they can kind of get through it quickly. Let's talk about 4. Okay, we have 2 more things. So let's talk about 4. If you feel like this has been helpful so far, give it a thumbs up. If you want to build a freelance writing business you adore, subscribe. If you want to join my live class that's coming up, it's enrollment ends a week from today. So if you go to mandyellis.com/runway, you can join my 5-day live bootcamp where I'm teaching material that is not in this live stream. Okay, let's talk about 4. So pricing guide, right? If you have not grabbed my free pricing guide, mandyellis.com/pricing guide to grab it, right? If you haven't grabbed my free pricing guide, go grab it, okay? It's for everybody all over the planet. I've had people in all countries. So this is a question I've gotten recently. I've had people all over the place. So like the US, Canada, across the UK, across Europe, India, Australia, South America, Africa, Mexico, Thailand, just people all across the world have used the pricing guide to increase their rates and get better clients. So I don't want you to get it and think that it's only for US clients. It's not. They build businesses in their home countries. They don't have all US clients. If anything, they rarely have US clients. Like almost all of them build businesses in their own country. Like they're not seeking out a ton of US clients. So you can still get the free pricing guide, mandyellis.com/pricing guide, and you can apply it to all of your clients all over the world. I've seen it done. Like I didn't even do it. Like people got the pricing guide and they're like, hey, I live in blah, blah, blah. And I used it to increase my rates. It was great. Like I didn't even tell them to do it. They just got it. And they live all over the world and it worked for them. Yeah, it's actually really cool. I didn't realize that so many different countries had used the pricing guide. Like I didn't realize like the reach of it until I started naming it out just for Runway. Because I've been getting questions for Runway saying like, is this for me if I don't live in the US? And then I'm like, oh yeah, all these people have. But I never made a list realizing like that many types of areas and people had been using it and that they'd been using it in their home country. So I think it's important to mention that in terms of pricing. So pricing guide is one. We're going to go over pricing and value pricing more in Runway. The pricing guide is the best way to get information on how to price things. Now we're also going to talk about contracts and negotiations. So that's something else that you'll get in Runway is the contract templates, and we'll go over negotiations as well. So contracts, we have different contracts for different things. So some clients will send you their own contracts. You're going to get templates for this. So you'll have templates for all different types of contracts for businesses and magazines. And you will be able to like send your own real freelance writing contract. And if you get a contract that you don't like from a business, hi Woo, go back to your hobbit hole. If you get a business contract that you don't like, you can say, hey, can I send my contract? And they'll sign that most of the time, unless legal gets involved, and then you have to go through legal, which we would talk about in negotiations. So your contract should include a few really important clauses. So like we would go over an indemnification, we'll go over a scope of work, payment terms, how to do e-signatures, all that stuff, because we want to make sure that the contract has a legally binding e-signature. That's really important. All right, Barry, you want to try for it again? You want to see if you can catch it? Ready? Oh, so close. So close. It's by your foot, buddy. Can you get it? Good job. And we have a bunch of tools that we can use as well. So don't worry that you have to pay a ton of money. I use Dubsado for my contracts as well as my proposals and my invoicing, everything that runs my business. But you can use Dubsado for free, up to 3 clients. You could use something like Harvest or FreshBooks. You could use like PandaDoc. You could use HelloSign, which is now Dropbox Sign. You can use DocuSign. There's so many free tools out there that give you legally binding signatures that you can use. And we'll go over that more. Like I said, like your contracts are really important when you're starting your business, when you're like doing the launch phase, so that you have like a lot of freelance writers are like, I don't need a contract. Yes, you do. And then they're like, I didn't get paid. They're like, did you have a contract? They're like, no. It's like, okay, that's why. So the deal is that your contracts there's several things we need to include in them, right? Like I talked about indemnification. You don't have to include that in yours, but it often comes across in client contracts. So you need to at least know what that means and what you should try to change, like weird language in there. And we'll talk about like a little bit about business insurance because, you know, some clients are requiring that. And then the negotiations part, I did a video on that recently. I don't think, was it last week? Anyways, I'll link to that in here too. But we'll go deeper into negotiations, and you just want to think about it as like, what are your boundaries? What are your terms that like are non-negotiable for you? And that's it. Like we're not going to be like pushing sales on people or negotiating super hard because like, oh my God, like we have to get it. Like there's lots of other clients who would love to work with you, who you don't have to negotiate so hard with. And how the negotiations go is a precursor for how the relationship goes. So if things aren't going well in the contract, proposal, negotiation, upfront invoice phase, things are not going to go well in the working relationship. I've seen it happen to me many, many times. Like if you're like, why is this so difficult? And then you start working for them, you're like, oh, everything's difficult. Ooh. You got a little like snack crumb. Here you go. So you're like, everything is difficult. Why? That's what we need to know about negotiations in terms of like attitudes, in terms of how it will go for the work. And our negotiations are also about boundaries and understanding what we'll accept and what we won't, what types of niches or what types of projects we're willing to bend on and negotiate on a little bit more, what types of things we are willing to either get paid less on or change our terms a little bit. Or there's a lot of little nitpicky things that we might want to look at in terms of like how we work with a client, the clips that we want, the niches that we want, how we want to leverage our experience and our income, all that stuff. So we're kind of making sure that we're having a freelance writing contract in place, right? But we're also making sure that we're standing up for ourselves. Like you are your client's equal. Don't forget that, okay? All right, this live stream is going much longer than I anticipated, so let's get to 5. Okay, let's get to 5. 5 is going to be like, how do we actually complete our client work? So this is like one of my nerdiest things that I love. I love systems and processes. I love it. I love tools, and I'm always looking for like the best tool that does the thing like that I need it to do all the time. So for me, when we're completing our client work and we actually need to scale, right? So there's a point where your schedule gets so full that you're like, hey, I'm turning down work, but like I want to get to a higher up level. This is where these scalable systems and processes come in, right? This is how we actually make more money in less time. We don't have to do so much admin. We actually get to places where, we actually get to places where we can do tasks in like an hour for the whole week instead of having to spend an hour every day. And this is something that where if you have the right foundation and tools and steps, like what ends up happening is it frees your time to actually do more stuff. So you either don't have to work as much and you actually make more money because you have systems and processes running. It allows you to like actually scale your business. It allows you to work on different phases of your business. So like you get to So for example, I run my 6-figure freelance writing business, and I run now my 2 courses, and I run my one-on-one coaching business and my communities, and some other stuff. But I do that because I'm able to move these scalable systems, right? Like I'm able to actually put my good brain space into writing or into helping my students or into doing strategy, like content strategy or brand messaging strategy, because my brain is using like the good juice on the good stuff, and like I get to kind of automate a bunch of other things. So I get time back to do what I actually want. Here you go, buddy. That's a really important step that a lot of freelance writers miss. Like they miss the tools and the systems. And I feel like it's more fun that way. Like once you kind of set it up and you see it running like a well-oiled machine, you're just like, oh, this is fantastic. Like, why didn't I do this sooner? And you can do a lot of things for free. Like there's a lot of things that you can use for free. You don't have to pay for them at all. So you're not even raising expenses in your business. So you're not raising expenses. You're making more money, which means not more money being taken away by expenses. You get time back. That all these things kind of go together. Hold on, I missed some stuff. Yeah. Holly said, I remember how intimidating all this sounded the first time I went through the Wealth Lab. And now I'm like, oh, I feel like I know stuff. Yeah. It's just kind of, I know that there's a lot in this live stream. Like I'm throwing a lot of things at you in this live stream. But the point is that these are things that you will use over and over and over again. And like I said at the very beginning, even if you're launching your business or leveling up, these are things I look at, analyze, change, fix, upgrade in my 6-figure business all the time. These are fundamental building blocks to building a business you like. I don't care if it's 6 figures or 4 figures or $1. I don't care. If you're building a business you like, these are foundational pieces you need. And it sounds like a lot, but I always try to make it manageable. Like I always try to make it so it feels doable. Woo, do you want to just be part of the live stream today? You want to come up here and say hello? You want to say hello to everyone? Oh, she went to position 3. She's in position 3, people. Can't pick her up. So it's not that it's like, it's not that it's not doable. It's just that it's a bunch of things that a lot of freelance writers don't normally think about that are actually really important. Marie says, I had loads of red flag clients from hell, and Mandy helped me change things so I didn't attract them, and figure out how I could leave early on a call and not get swamped in client hell. Yeah, that's again like why I teach these topics. These topics are like the building block framework so that we can actually do stuff. Like Marie was someone who got time back. She actually got to go on vacation. She doesn't work like 8,000 hours a week anymore, right? And Marie says, I love tools and systems. They are so juicy and help me focus on working in my business, not on my business. Yes, that's why 5 is super important, is you get to work in your business. You get to do the writing. You get to do the cool stuff. You get to actually work on the projects you care about rather than the on your business, which is like admin or setting things up or tracking things or finding that email or to-do lists or whatever it is. Like this makes it much more focused. Vicky says, how do you give prospects the impression that how do you give prospects the impression that you'll need to slot in their project a couple of weeks into the future? How many months ahead do you generally go? So I like to plan 3 to 6 months ahead in my business. So how are things going over the next 3 to 6 months? Oh my goodness. Go back to your hobbit hole, you sass. You're sassy today. Sassy bean. Sassy bean. So one, I just tell them. So like if I get on a call with someone and they're like, what's your typical turnaround time or what does your schedule look like? I'll tell them like, hey, I have an opening starting in April. Like it depends on where my schedule is and what I'm doing, right? Sometimes it could be 2 weeks. Like I'll say, hey, I have a 2-week turnaround right now. Usually if you work with a client long enough, then you get to bulk your work. So like I'll turn in 4 blog posts or something once a month because then I can bulk my work and it's due once a month and now it's over. So I don't have to turn it in every week, which can be a pain. But I'll tell them on the call, like the initial time I talk to them, I'm like, yeah, right now I'm planning for April, or right now I'm planning for May, or right now I have a 2-week turnaround. I'm upfront with them on that. And then the other thing is when I'm planning my business. So right now, right, I have runway coming up and I actually have client deadlines coming up that I need to deal with. Here you go, buddy. So number one, my systems and processes allow me to both run Runway and launch Runway while also getting my client work done. And also that I've been doing this for 10 years. And then the other thing is like, I already know like what my next 3 to 6 months look like in terms of Runway or the Freelance Writer Wealth Lab community, the master classes, the book club, how we're doing things in the Wealth Lab in terms of like new students coming in, when the launch periods are, what my work schedule will look like during the Wealth Lab, or how I'm going to like organize my freelance writing work. So I feel like a lot of freelance writers don't think far enough ahead. Like I've talked to people that are like, oh, I have work for the next 2 weeks. And I'm like, what? No. And they're like, I don't need to do marketing. I have work for the next 2 weeks. No, you need to be thinking 3 to 6 months. You need to be thinking further out. You need to be looking at what things are coming in, how things are working, what types of projects you're working on. And that also helps you get picky, right? The further you plan out, the further you look at your calendar, the more marketing you get done and the more clients you have come in. Now our work schedule moves further out. So if I get a client or a prospect or like a potential project that I don't want to do, my schedule is already filled up. I don't have to do it. You get rid of the feast and famine desperation mode. So if you're thinking 3 to 6 months ahead, and you don't necessarily have to have 3 to 6 months of work or 3 to 6 months of invoices. Can you go back to your hubble? Thank you. You don't always have to have paid work, but you at least need to know like when your paid work ends, or how long that retainer is going to be, or what does it look like with taxes, right? Here you go, buddy. We'll go over taxes and Runway. But you need to kind of know what's coming up and what's ending and what's coming in. And that actually helps you not only give your potential clients a better turnaround time or like a better kind of how I would set this schedule up, right? But it also gives you better planning in terms of like how your money's coming in and like what you can actually physically and mentally and emotionally take on. This is another thing that happens with writer burnout, is that they end up burning out because they're not planning far enough ahead and they're just always on the hamster wheel, right? And that's a big problem. Vicky says, do you take the deposit as soon as you book the time instead of at onset? It depends. So there's a couple of things. Okay, you might have to leave because you're borky today. Goodbye. Have a great day. You can lay down, but you can't bork. We're not going to bork today. All right. So it depends. It depends on what it is. So magazines, right? Magazines, you usually get paid on publication, or you get paid on acceptance, or you get paid on net 30, 45, 90, 60, whatever. Like the magazine payment terms, sometimes you can negotiate that, but usually you're subject to the magazine's terms. It just depends on what they are. You can, like I said, you can negotiate. It just depends. With business projects, it depends on what it is. So for example, if I do a retainer, and it's like the same thing, right? Like let's say I'm doing a retainer and someone wants 4 blog posts a month for 3 months. And I tell them that like, hey, if we're doing this type of project, it's an initial 90-day contract. And I will tell them that on the first thing. Like I'm not going to hop on and do 2 blog posts and like one off it and see how this goes. Like it's going to, the way this type of project works, especially if it's repetitive retainer style project, it's an initial 3-month, 90-day contract. The first month is due up front. Every month after that, I will invoice on the first of the month and it's due mid-month. So then you get paid before the end of the month, which a lot of people end up having tons of bills at the end of the month. So it's better to do it that way. So you get an initial retainer, like the first month is up front on that one. The other one is if I'm doing a project that has like, let's say 4 to 5 different types of content, right? Like they want 2 case studies, 3 blog posts, an ebook, and a landing page. That I do 50% up front, 50% 30 days later. So if it's repetitive retainer style stuff, that I do every month. Or if it's like a mix of project stuff, 50% up front, 50% due 30 days later. Sometimes people end up doing like 50% at the end of the project. But that can just go on forever. Like that can just be 6 months down the road. And so it's really just, that doesn't work. So I like 50% up front, 50% 30 days after first invoice, right? The other thing too is that you're taking deposits, or you're taking, you're ending up taking initial payments for other stuff too. So like there will be other projects that you work on where you will get an upfront deposit of like the first article, right? So let's say you're doing a test article and you're going to do a smaller collection of blog posts. You're like, okay, the first article is due up front. I just like the idea of doing like retainers are one way, right? Regular repetitive work for the next 3 months or 6 months or however long the retainer is. That costs this much. I invoice on the first, due mid-month, no questions asked. And like, that's the thing is I have net 14 in my payment terms. So if someone signs a contract, they're already agreeing to net 14, which just means 14 days after invoice. Your client may have their own payment terms. But like I said, like there should almost always, except for magazines, if you're working for businesses, get money up front, because there are lots of times where writers don't get any money up front and the client ghosts them. They use their work without their permission and they post it and they never end up paying the writer. This is not super common, but it still happens. So you need to at least get something up front. I don't care if it's one article payment. I don't care if it's 50% or 100%. I have friends who do 100% upfront on everything. I'm still moving in that direction. And I feel like I've been saying that for a year. So I probably just need to just bite the bullet and do it. But I have friends who just do 100% upfront on everything. And their clients are just like, sounds good. That's the level of client, right? So if you're working with clients that are really finicky about payment terms, they're going to be finicky about other stuff. And there should be some kind of like skin in the game, right? You're going to go off and do content, which means you're working and spending time researching, doing interviews, finding stats, whatever you're doing, right? You should be paid for that, at least somewhat, right? So at least if something happens, you at least got 50% up front. But 50% up front and getting paid up front is also kind of a good, like it's like a good faith thing. Like they signed your contract, they give you money up front. We're kind of like on the same boat, instead of you just like going off and then being like, here's the invoice, pay me, and then chasing an invoice. Like you can chase an invoice for like years or like months. Like I chased an invoice for 9 months. Actually, I'm pretty sure I probably chased an invoice for a year, but I know I chased one for 9 months. And that was money I didn't get up front, and that was just a pain. So you want to make sure that you do get all of those things go together. So you would send your proposal, contract, and invoice all at once. They sign the proposal or agree to the proposal. They just click a button in Dubsado. They sign the contract, legally binding, and then the next tab in Dubsado is the invoice. They all go together. And this is something we'll go over in Runway more in depth. But I love Dubsado because they get the proposal, contract, invoice all at once. Nothing gets lost. Like they can't sign the contract and then like be like, where's the invoice? Like they're all together. It's really easy for them to do steps 1, 2, and 3. With Dubsado, you can connect Stripe as well. So you can immediately get your 50% deposit by ACH because they can pay by bank payment. So like instead of paying fees, you pay only up to $5 for the bank transfer, which is just ACH for us, which is great instead of using credit cards. If your client needs credit cards, you can change that on an invoice by invoice basis, but you can make your default bank payments so you pay less in fees. But you always have this kind of nice flow of proposal, contract, invoice, proposal, contract, invoice, where someone's like you are training your clients in the onboarding process of like, this is how I work. I'm a pro. I send this stuff. And as you're onboarded, you do the contract, you pay up front. This is how it works. This is what it's like to work with me. Okay. I think that's all I'm going to say. I did have one question that I wanted to get to that someone popped in. So I hope that this has been helpful so far. I hope that this has been kind of a nice overview of the things that I constantly am updating things. I'm updating contracts. I'm updating invoices. I'm constantly updating my systems and processes. Right now, just as like a little insider thing is like I'm looking at different checkouts. So different checkouts for the back end of Runway or different checkouts for Freelance Writer Wealth Lab so that everybody has a better checkout experience. And I have like more options to play with in terms of what's on the checkout page or how the checkout works or what's plugged into it. So like I'm always playing with different pieces from like, am I going to go into the pet healthcare niche, or how am I going to do my business roadmap? How should I change up my LOIs, or what now that I've talked to 10 new ideal clients, what are some repetitive things they've said to me on calls that I need to add to my website and LinkedIn to attract more of my ideal clients? What are the things I need to think about in terms of pitching or pricing or increasing my prices or changing my client structure or how I negotiate or how I change the systems, right? I'm always doing these things. And that's why this live stream is important. Is it's not just about me telling you like, we're going to do this in Runway. This live stream is important because these are things that like pretty much no matter what level you're at, you will keep reanalyzing, rechanging your framework. But at least if you know what they are, now I've brought them into your awareness so you can pay attention to them moving forward, whether you're launching, whether you're ramping up, whether you're leveling up, or whether you have a 6-figure business that you need to kind of poke holes in and see where you can actually, scale some more. All right, let's talk about questions. So question that was submitted. If you ever want to submit a question, you can go to mandyellis.com/question and I can do it on the live stream. So question or topic. I've had many topics submitted by people for the live stream, so you can go there. So anonymous question. How much work would you expect to provide to receive a per project amount of US dollars 1,500 or 15,000 to 20,000? So this depends. This is a complicated but then not complicated question. So the deal is that let's say I'm going to do one of my content strategy, brand messaging, messaging and positioning, or some kind of strategy marketing consultative type project, right? Let's say that you've been really good. You're being over there being nice and cute and quiet. Here you go. Good job. Let's say I'm going to do a strategy or marketing consultative type project. Then that would be a bunch of deliverables. Here you go, buddy. Can you see it? There you go. It's still in my hand. Good job. Okay. Good job. So if I'm doing that, it would be a bunch of deliverables. So the work that I would provide for that is like, so I'm going to do, if I take a content strategy project, like a 15K or 20K one, I'm going to be doing like I can probably pull it up on my phone. Hold on. I just want to make sure I say the right deliverables. So like if I'm doing, so like messaging and positioning, let's say, so I would, for 20K, it would be like a positioning canvas, which includes a tagline, marketing category, POV, customer segments. So like buyer personas and user personas, characteristics of companies and target markets. These are names of deliverables that I would send to my client. Okay. So like they would get a worksheet. The positioning canvas is the deliverable, but then in there, these are the things that get delivered, the types of information they need. Solved pain points, ideal solutions, competitive alternatives, triggers, unique value, unique attributes, and proof points. They would also get the messaging and the strategic parts, like the strategic narrative, which includes market category, the narrative itself, tagline options and suggestions, one-liners, the mission, the problem space, target audience, any types of elevator pitches they would need or descriptions, value point tables, features, benefits, and themes, competitive messaging and top competitors, and potential customer assets. So that would be like a messaging and positioning project for 20K. I could also do something like, let's say, so let me give you content strategy. So content strategy would include the competitive analysis, the review of critical insights with a SWOT analysis, so a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, SWOT, SWOT. It would also be their positioning, messaging, and audience and top producing content of competitors. It would include the content strategy deck, which tells them basically like what is the content strategy and how to kind of like start executing, what we should look for, content goals, topic clusters, which are really important for making sure that we have our content in place, which are like content pillars. So topic clusters, content pillars, types of content that work best, like from their competitors and from their own audience. Then they would also be able to get like the higher tier content strategy would add on to that. So if I was doing content strategy, brand messaging, or marketing consultation, messaging and positioning, that's kind of those packages. But if I'm doing something like, this is hard to say because it depends on what it is. Like here's a good example. I have a student named Vesna where we've talked about her stuff before, where she had a white paper that she did that we talked about that was beautiful. It was wonderful. We had a white paper masterclass yesterday and we talked about it. And we all agreed that it should be 10K. Like basically those of us who looked at it, we were like, you should charge 10K for this, right? That's one white paper. It was a big white paper. It was like 10 pages or 9 pages. It was really long. It was just beautiful. She did a great job. but she should have charged 10K, and that's one white paper. So if I'm going to charge 10K for a white paper plus, let's say, 3K case studies based on however long they are, that could be something that I have is 16 grand, right? Or I could do 3 months of blog posts at 4K a month for blog posts, which would be 12K plus $1,000 a month for tons of social media posts, which would then put me at 15K, right? So 4K a month, 4, 8, 12 for 3 months of blog posts plus $1,000 added on, which would be an extra 3K for social media. That would be 15K. If I'm going to do $20,000, let's say I would end up doing like it's pretty easy to get to 10 or 20K when you have a ton of deliverables. So if you're ending up with a lot of case studies or white papers or landing pages can be 3 to 5K per landing page, depending on length. Like some landing pages could be way more than that based on length. Or you could end up with, nope, go back to your hobble hole. You could end up with, here you go, buddy. A drip campaign, an email drip campaign that you charge 5K for, depending on how many emails are in the drip. And then you add on like an ebook, and you add on some other subscriber things that they would want from being in the drip campaign. And that could be 15 or 20K. There's a lot of different pieces that go into something that's 15 to 20K. It just depends on what it is. Like how much research are in these blog posts? What level am I at in my freelance writing career that I feel like I can charge this rate or whatever it is? Or do I feel confident enough really to charge this rate? Am I doing a lot of research, interviews, stats? Am I doing a ton of legwork? Like it could take me forever to do this white paper, or it could take me, like, for example, like one of the things Holly just said is how long does it usually take for a project? So it could be done in a month. So I could do a whole content strategy project in a month, but that depends on me getting things from my client. So if my client is super fast at setting up, I put a bunch of folders in Google Drive. So like I need all their sales and marketing material. I need them to give me feedback. I need them to review the deliverables I send. If they do that fast, we can get it done in a month. A lot of times it takes 3 months because they have more people looking at it. It takes them 2 weeks to review. It takes a while to do feedback or changes. So it could be 1 month to 3 months to do a content strategy, messaging and positioning, brand messaging project. 1 month I think is the minimum though, because you still have to get the deliverables done. And that is a lot of research. Like it's a lot of deep dive searching and stats and using tools like Ubersuggest, or you could use like Moz, or you could pull, if they let you have access to Google Analytics, you need to go do that. You need to go look at competitors and their top producing content, which takes a lot of time. Go back to your hole. So something like that would be, I think at a minimum is a month, at most, I think 3 months. But if you're doing 15 to 20K of work, you could complete it in a month. Like even if it's like a bunch of, like, let's say someone wanted to do a ton of blog posts, like I guess you could get it done in a month. It would just be a lot. So you'd want to make sure that you kind of know the timeline for that as well. And the work that you're expected to provide just really depends. And like I said, the pricing also depends on, like, if it's a basic blog post that's 1,000 words with no interviews, no research, like they're like, here's 4 things to go look at, and it's not hard. Like that's not going to be as much as something where you're having research and interviews, and you need to go do some SEO and you need to find images, right? So it kind of depends. Like you would be, yeah, Marie, Tritos. You would be expected to, it's not so much expected, it's like what you would be pricing in terms of your own work and the complexity of the project and like what ends up happening, whether it's like a collection of deliverables or it's like a 5K a month retainer for 3 months, which is 15K, or it's a project where you split it up, right? You say, it's 20K, it's 10K up front, 10K later, and that includes 10 different deliverables or 5 different deliverables. But like I said, it really depends. Like you could have a case study that's $2,000, or you could have a white paper that's $10,000, or you could have a case study that's $5,000 or $3,000, or you could have a white paper that's $3,000 or $5,000, right? Like it really depends on the complexity of it and what you're doing. Go back to your hobble hole. Thank you. This is a record, Charlotte. I'm pretty sure this is a record number of times I've said, go back to your hobble hole today. So it really depends. But yeah, so it's just, I wouldn't say expect. I would think about it more as value. The value that you are providing for 15 to 20K is high. You are providing a lot of content assets or a lot of strategy or messaging, positioning, or brand assets, rather than saying like, if someone gives me 20K, what do I have to do? Like, no, it's like I'm providing $20,000 worth of value. I know I am. And not only do I know I'm providing $20,000 of value, I know based on your business and how this, sales cycle works or how content marketing works, you're going to make 10 times the money back. Like content marketing has like a 3,600% ROI. So for like every dollar that's spent in content marketing, people make like $360 or $3,600. I forget what it is, but whatever 3,600% is. So it's 3,600% ROI. Okay. Don't forget that. Yeah. So how long does it take, says Holly? 1 month to 3 months for something like content strategy or brand messaging or messaging positioning. Okay, I think we went through all of our good stuff. If you found this helpful, give it a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe and get more tips and tricks about freelance writing, hit the button that says subscribe. Like I said at the very beginning, Runway is going to be open for enrollment until next Friday. So Friday 3/24 will be the last day to enroll in Runway. It's $49. It's going over what we talked about today in terms of topics, but it's going much deeper into specific strategies, how-tos, like actual lists and templates and all the good stuff that you're going to get in Runway. I also have the option, you're going to get a bonus masterclass. So I'm going to have the class vote. Like everyone who joins Runway will vote on a topic and everyone will get a bonus masterclass on the topic that gets voted the highest. And then we will also have the chance to win 1 of 5 free one-on-one coaching sessions in Runway. It's a live 5-day class. You do not have to be there live. If you are there live, you will be able to win one of the coaching sessions. If you can't make it live, no big deal. There are recordings of everything. Everything will be recorded and you will have a community to ask questions, meet other students. You will have like a little chat space. I'm like testing this little like Slack chat space as well. But you'll be able to get a ton of support and help if you need it after the live classes. You'll be able to watch the replays. It'll be all good stuff. And my current students, some of my current students, including Marie and Holly, and Vesna actually will be there. Funny enough that we talked about her, but a bunch of my current students will be there to support you guys and cheer you on and participate and do the work. The other thing I want to mention is you will have worksheets as well that'll have action steps, like things that you can do right now. They're not overly complicated. They are easy to execute. These action worksheets will have 3 things per day that you can do to take action in your freelance writing business and actually see results, like things that actually move the needle in your business. I do love, Project Runway I love Project Runway as a show. Getty's here. Hey, Getty. I do love Project Runway as a show, but I couldn't call it Project Runway as I'm sure it's TM'd, right? Obviously, but yeah. So in any case, you can join Runway if you go to mandyellis.com/runway. There's the link. If you haven't gotten my free pricing guide, which we talked about pricing in here, it is for everybody around the world. I've had tons of people all over the world in all different countries use the pricing guide to raise their rates and get better clients. mandyellis.com/pricing guide. I think that's going to be it. But if you have any questions, you can always send me an email as well. So if you ever have any questions about freelance writing or about Runway or Freelance Writer Wealth Lab, you can always send me an email. But I hope that this has been helpful. I hope everybody has a really good Friday and hope to see you in Runway that starts on the 27th. Bye.